interesting and worth covering. The first one is this issue about Microsoft discontinuing the Health Vault. Health Vault is their attempt at recording our health data online into their vault. And then their hope was to have other hospitals, medical providers have the information downloadable. What it really turned out to be, and I was a participant for a while, what it really turned out to be was a download service. You went and went to the provider, like here we had NC8 or Physicians Regional. They would have a portal. You went to the portal, signed in with your name, and then downloaded your data. And you downloaded it into the vault, into their vault. So they're discontinuing it as of November 20. The attachment is at the end of the notes here, down a bit, so you'll see the full details. What that means is you have to go download your information and find some other way to store it. What I have always done is store my health vault, store my health information online on my hard drive. But there are some other services that now, Apple being one. And if you use the Apple Health app, it's much more user-friendly, as you would expect. And I don't know what that beeping noise is. Why am I getting a beeping? Anyway, the Health app is the answer. My recommendation would be to explore it. There's an excellent write-up that George posted. I'll just scroll down to it because it's right here. How to use the Apple Health app. And it's being substantially improved in the new operating systems. You'll see that the configurations are different. There's a lot more analytical work, a lot more recommendation kind of stuff, you know, how many hours you should stand, how much you're doing walking, all that sort of stuff. So look at that. George posted the information, and I have the link on here as well if you want to download it and read it yourself on your own device. So that's issue one. I don't see any questions. I'll go on. For those of you who are just joining, 4 or 5 people joined us after we started talking. We are recording this webinar, and that could be maybe this. Let me try that. Let's see what happens if I stop that. Did that help or hurt the sound? Stop the beep at least. And I have 2 of these things here. No. All right, let's see what happens here. Am I still online? Can you still hear me? I'm not sure. I see video. Okay, George says yes. Okay, without that beep, I'm now echoless. Maybe that's what the issue was. Okay, maybe that's what the issue was with sound echo. Is that better? Hopefully that's better, because maybe it was the echo. We have a time limit on the recording today, and I was trying to record it with QuickTime at the same time, and that's that maybe was the cause of the problem with the sound. Okay, anyway, we also talked there have been a couple of major announcements from Apple about the new operating system, and I think it's in everybody's interest to go do a little bit of homework at the beginning to get familiar with what's going to happen with the new operating system. I am a beta tester of all 4 operating systems. I put the new TV operating system on my Apple TV. I put the new iPad operating system on my iPad Pro. I put the new iOS on my iPhone, and I put the new Catalina on their Mac, which I had just gotten rid of for this new one. But I figured that way I could screw it up and not mess up my entire life. So I am testing all 4. They're very interesting. I think it's so far what I've seen is a number of significant advantages and improvements. And I'll talk about the Photos one in a minute, but Notes is substantially different on iOS devices. tvOS is starting to get, we have this issue of being split up, and everybody is hyper about that split up. Frankly, it doesn't make any difference to us at all. With the iTunes there, you always had to go to movies to look at your movies, and TV to look at your TV, music to look at your music, and podcast to look at your podcast. So it wasn't like it's any big major thing. The big difference, of course, is that now we have 4 apps instead of 1 app. But we're used to apps by now. It's not a big challenge to go from app to app. So I haven't found any difficulty with that regard at all. One of the interesting things is it's black mode, and black mode is sort of taking what they did on the iPad and iPhone and converting it so that you can do it on Mac as well. It's pretty interesting. There's a lot of nice features with that. Your eyes don't get so tired at night. All that radiation is supposed to screw up your brain. In my case, my brain was screwed up, so I don't know if it was a big change to have the computer screw me up some more. So, but I would encourage you to go here and see what the differences are. If you're adventuresome, you can go be a beta tester. It's pretty easy to sign up and sign on. And then here's frequently asked questions, and the MacMost article is a very good article about the new changes coming. And understand that at this early stage, this is only June or July. It's not going to be released maybe September, October. So they've got some iterations to go to get some of the bugs out. There are a couple of bugs that I found already. Sometimes Safari hangs up when you want to do something. And Notes has hung up in some, but in general, it's a pretty good advance, I think. The biggest change will be with the 32-bit apps, and a significant one of those is Adobe Photoshop, which they list here, Adobe Photoshop, and this says if you're using some other apps, you might want to go to a modern app like Microsoft Word. We already have a modern app that with the 64-bit system that's called Pages. And as you know, this is in Pages. As you can see here, I do all my writing in Pages, and it's a brilliant, I think, word processor. So there'll be some changes like that. This one's going to cost me some money, Adobe Photoshop. And the other one that is has to be changed is Adobe Acrobat Pro, which I use for converting my PDFs from one thing to another, doing optical character recognition, so I can take a PDF and then cut and paste it into something else. So that'll be another big change. But the 32-bit apps, there are a number of them out there, and they're going to be they're going to require us to change to either a new app or to get the developers to and make them compatible with 64. The other suggestion that MacMost made, which this is a link so you can read the whole article, their other suggestion, and I think if Don Peacock were online, he'd say, I already have old Macs sitting around, so I'll just use my old Macs for the old apps. I don't particularly think that's a good thing to do, because then you're constantly trying to figure out whether you're current or not. But some people have multiple computers, and it turns out I now have 3 sitting here right around me, so I'm getting into the same mode. So that's the latest. I've not found any big issues yet with MacMost or with Catalina. Excuse me, not MacMost, Catalina or the other operating systems on my trials. I've been doing it now about 3 weeks since they made the announcement. I put them on the computer. So, yeah, Tom says I have a 32-bit Epson scanner that won't work, and they don't have a fix. Yeah, usually the scanners are like one chip, so you're probably going to have to buy a new one. My advice is go to Costco, buy the Epson or the Canon for $100, and they'll last 2 years. But after 2 years, you're going to want a new one anyway. So that's what we wound up doing. In the cabinet behind me is our printer, scanner, faxer, and of course we don't fax anymore, but we print and scan and use the device that's there. So before I go on to Time Machine a little bit, are there any other questions or comments anybody wants to make about any of that? George's comment there was the health app will be covered at meetings in this fall. That's true, as will the latest operating systems. As soon as we know more, we'll cover them all at various meetings. Any other questions or comments? Just type them in the chat box, and everybody can read them. If you just click up where it says participants, the little number 20 there. We have 20 people signed on, and if you click the balloon lets you open a panel, and you can chat, and everybody can see what you say. I don't know if mine appears. George's comment: classes will cover Catalina in September. Any other questions or comments? No, Tom's question is the list of classes set for the fall? Not yet. Marilyn and Jeff will have the lead for that, and they'll take care of it, and probably will be announcing it in November, December, like we did last year. There's a lot of preparation that goes into that. So, George's comment, it's not in September, it's in depth. Yeah. It'll take some in-depth discussion because there's some number of significant changes, and I'll cover one in a little bit here about photos. All right. Let me Cheetah's comment, a very good one, thank you. Apple icon system report. So up here, Apple icon about this Mac system report, and then what is it? Categories. Must be categories somewhere else. Where's categories? Software. Thank you. Software, and then applications. Will display apps on your computer which are 64 or 32-bit. Apparently I have no apps. There you go. I was going to say I have no apps that are 64 or 32. So here's the apps. I think you can all see that on the screen. That's a very good suggestion. I have to widen this screen. I can't widen it. It's already 27 inches. I have to widen this screen. I get it over here. So if I move this little guy over like that, it shows us here the 64 and the if it's not 64, it shows you. So here's client status from Intel. It's the Akamai library ebook reader. That's a 32-bit machine. Let's see if the Adobe one is here, because I know the Adobe one is not Adobe Acrobat Pro. Here's Adobe Acrobat Pro and the Adobe Application Manager are both not 64-bit. So that's a very good suggestion. So you know how to do that. So as she says here, application system report, software applications, and then scroll over to where it says 64-bit. And that shows you the ones that are 32. Here's another one, client status. That's the Akamai one. I don't think I have many on here because this is a brand new machine with an installer. This installer is from Adobe. Yeah, so that's another one. Because I haven't put a lot of stuff on this machine yet. It's only about a month old. Tutor for iPad, yeah, Tutor for Movie 11. So that's a good suggestion. We'll put that in the notes here. Okay, so let me talk a little bit about a question that I got the other day from somebody, and it took us a long to. Frank, you have to click at the top of your chat balloon and touch everyone so that everyone can see it. You see here where it says everyone. If you click everyone, then everybody can see your comments. Those are going only to me now. If I move to a newer Mac, will I be able to use Excel? Probably not 2011. No, probably not 2011. 2011 is pretty old. Probably not 2011 Excel, but check. Any other questions before we go on? Okay. We got a question the other day if I've restored from Time Machine my files and folders or whatever I needed, but my desktop icons went away, how do I recover them? Sometimes the icons don't come back if they're shortcuts or if they were put there and then you remove them or whatever. I'm not quite sure why. But sometimes the icons don't come back. So what you have to do is it's the same process. You have to be a little bit more careful where you're going. So I've put in here the detailed screenshots of how you do this, and I just wanted to go through it quickly. Just to point it out. So Time Machine, you've restored your files and folders. Now you want to get your icons back. The first caveat I would give you is you have to make sure there's nothing on your desktop except your hard drives. Because if you have icons on your desktop, when you tell Time Machine to restore your desktop, it will restore it to the old view, not to the old view plus the new view. So what do I mean by that? I'll show you here in a minute. So here's your desktop. Desktop in this case, I just had three little little icons on it. I take those off and I put them somewhere else so that I know what to do with them. And the easiest thing is select them, put them over here in downloads, and then you can easily get them back and drag them back up here again. So you're going to be in desktop. You're going to have your icons removed. You're going to go to Time Machine as usual, right? And you're going to enter Time Machine, click Enter Time Machine. So you open Time Machine, you say Enter Time Machine, and then Time Machine will open it. Now you're on your desktop, so you're looking at your desktop as it is now, which has nothing on it. And then you're going to scroll back to a time when your desktop had icons in it that you wanted. So in this case, June 23rd, I had a whole bunch of icons on my desktop, and I'm going to say restore. Once I select these, I have to select them, then it will ungray. So remember that you have to select these first and then say restore. If you just say restore, it's going to restore nothing because you haven't chosen anything. So select them, and let me make a note here just to be sure it's clear. Select the icons you want to restore. Restore. And then restore. And when you do that, they'll be placed back on your desktop. It's sort of a two-step process when you're trying to recover icons on your desktop. And then you go to downloads or wherever you put the other ones and you add them back in, right? Let's talk a little bit about photos, because I said that we were going to do that in this time. This probably won't take a full half hour. My recording is going to end here shortly anyway. The photos, first of all, photos is changing dramatically in Catalina, and they're doing some things that I think they should have done a long time ago, like they're getting rid of moments and collections, which nobody understood what the heck those were anywhere. They're actually going to go to days and months. So I think that'll help a lot. The layout is completely different, and I think there are many more editing tools. I think they're finally figuring out that they can compete with Adobe in this area, and Lightroom and Photoshop, and it'd be pretty amazing, I think, from what I've seen of them already on the trial. So anyway, what I want to cover today is just a few highlights. Most of us spend, when we do the and we cover them on Wednesdays, we normally cover them in how do we edit and how do we make slideshows and all this stuff. We don't talk much about files, how to save them, where to save them, any of that kind of language. So I just want to touch on that a little bit. When you open Photos and you open you open Preferences. So this is Photos, Preferences. You get this menu for General and for iCloud. For General, we often see where our library is stored, and then this thing will be grayed out. It says Use as System Photo Library. If it's grayed out, it means this is your System Photo Library. What's that mean? What that means is when you click Photos down here, it opens that automatically. Boom. That's the one that opens. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to find a new location or go find where it is or anything like that. You can change that by going to a different photo library, opening it. Then this will come up as Use as System Photo Library. Or if you click here and hold down the Option key, it will it will automatically give you the System Photo Library choices, right? And I lost my thingy here for some reason. Come on. I don't know why. I don't know why I suddenly lost my thing here. So system for the library lets you pick the library automatically. The other thing that's interesting is down here where it says importing, copy items to photo library. Only items copied to photo library will upload to iCloud Photos. So there are two criteria for iCloud Photos to work. One is to check the little box that's under iCloud. And two is that this box be checked. Otherwise, your photos sit out in the library and they're not uploaded to the cloud. I'm sure that's not clear, so I couldn't find the slide here for a minute. But anyway, the point is, if you copy items to your library, you're literally putting them in this folder. It's really a folder, and that's what lets you upload to the cloud. If you don't copy to the photo library, then you can't upload to the cloud using using iCloud Photos, right? Now, what's the impact of having them outside the library? What does that do for you? When you leave them outside the library, they're called referenced files. They reside in a folder somewhere else on your computer or your hard drive. They're indicated as referenced in Photos, so you can tell the difference. The advantage of that is that it saves you having to export and import into the library. All right? It saves you having to export and import into the library. Let me show you. In my case here, I have a library called Lightroom Library, and all of my photos are in these by year. They're all stored by year, and that's how Lightroom does it. So as long as your dates are accurate, your photos are stored in the same place. And here's my photos library, which is stored in an external hard drive. It's on my 4 terabyte Lacy. That's my system library, and here are my pictures. And then the library just sits there and points to the pictures when I show them in Photos. Let me try and be a little bit clearer here. Let's go to a real example. Here's my drive, my external hard drive. This is real time now, not a slide. And here's my Lightroom library with the years. So within each year, there are months and days and pictures. So if I want to see a picture, I can just go look at a picture. And then when I want to open my photos and I want to go see a picture, that picture, in this case, is a reference picture, and it's stored outside in the library, not in Photos. All right. Now, why is this useful? It's useful for a couple of reasons. One is that if you want to sync with Google or Amazon or OneDrive or Dropbox, I guess those should be caps, right? If I'm going to do this and use their trademark. If I want to use one of those services, then I don't have to worry about how to get them out of Photos in order to put them up in one of those services. So it's a very easy way to get my pictures from my pictures library to the Amazon Drive and then up into Amazon, so that I can see them on my Echo View or on my Fire TV as a screensaver, or on OneDrive or Google Photos or whatever. So let me show you how those other guys work, because those other guys are interesting. Here, for example, is Amazon Photos, and move this stuff out of your way here. So I have synced my Amazon Photos. I've synced my libraries with Amazon Photos because our house is an Amazon house. It's because we just moved. We got new electronics, and we have Alexa everywhere, and Sonos is connected to her. And I heard her name, so now you heard her in the background there probably. And we have View and we have Fire TV, and it's just a convenient way to have everything show itself to on the various devices. If you have an Apple TV, you use your iCloud account and Photos, and then you can do the same thing with iCloud and Apple TV. So, for example, here's Amazon Photos. They have all the same functions that Apple has. You can make albums, you can edit, you can do all that stuff. They have a pretty good facial recognition system, so the people who are highlighted will appear once you tell them who it is. Then it goes and finds the other one. Here's Adam's in 5,400 pictures. My wife is in 5,200. So it's pretty good and pretty thorough. It goes and shows you your places. The same kinds of technology that are available in the other ones. I just wanted to show you how it works and how it looks. And then in settings, you can decide which pictures are shared with the various devices. They have a family plan, so you can share across the family with family settings. And then you just pick a folder and you put the things that are in your folder, or you can upload them directly and just do it sort of on an ad hoc basis. So that's Amazon Photos. If you do Google Photos, now for some reason, Google is messing us up. This is Google Drive, right? And everybody knows how to get to Google Drive, right? It's drive.google.com. And when you go to drive.google.com, you sign in with your own username and password. And then for some reason, they in Google Photos, which is down here, Google Photos, and you have to go to Google Photos separately rather than with. Let me see if I can get this moved over here. You have to go to Google Photos separately. Oh, never mind. Right here. In order to find the photos, you can't go from Google Drive to Google Photos. It's similar to the problem Amazon has, because Amazon has photos in one place and Amazon Drive somewhere else. And even though they sync, fluid sync, like in Apple's case. In Apple's case, you have iCloud Drive and you have photos, and you can go from photos to the other things that you save in iCloud Drive. But Google Drive is very good. They're actually have more history than Amazon does in this field. They do the albums. You can then you can check on a picture. You can make an album. You can edit a picture using the little slidey things off to the left here. You can share a picture if you want. So by clicking it, you put in the name, and names come up. This is everybody in my address book, in my Google address book. So it's fairly straightforward. They have changed the name of their syncing program. It's up here on the toolbar. I don't know if you can see it. It's called Backup and Sync, rather than what it used to be called, which was Google Drive. But it works the same way. The Google Assistant is fairly good. You can share, you can make photo books, all that kind of thing. And again, the easiest way to get the syncing to be done is to use your Finder and use your pictures that are in a separate folder rather than in your library. I'll show you the other ones here. We have OneDrive has all photos. It lets you automatically take all the photos up, add them to an album. You can add tags, you can share, you can do all the things that, this is my OneDrive photos album. And I use it for all sorts of things, screenshots and videos and so forth. So that's really what I wanted to cover on this. If there are questions, I will take them. I can talk about this forever, but I think you get the point. There are lots of options for us to store and show our videos. My son and his family use Google Photos. Pardon me. They use Google Photos because they have Chromecast on their TV, and that lets them take the Google Photos out of the Photos album on the web and then show them on their TV. And when they share using Dropbox, and we download from Dropbox into iCloud or into Lightroom. Any questions at this point? How do you upload from photos directly to Amazon Photos? Can you do albums, or do you have to select a bunch of photos? There are a couple ways to do that. Thanks for the question. There are a couple ways to do that. Amazon Photos has this very nice little thing over here, which says add, and it will say upload photos or upload a folder, create an album. So if you create an album first, then you can upload photos into that album, and videos, by the way, or you can upload a folder directly into the collection, and then it'll tell you. The one thing that's weird, by the way, that I should point out, very important. If you're a Prime member, you can store as many photos as you want in Amazon Photos with no additional charge. Now, I sometimes say they're free, and I think on the handout I say they're free. Notes, I think I say they're free, but free isn't free because you're paying them $129 for Prime. But videos don't qualify. So when you look at your storage, I have now a terabyte of storage for video and file storage. We bought that extra, but I have unlimited photo storage with Amazon Prime. So my photos don't count against me. This 111 gigabytes are just my videos, which I have put on there because it was easier for us to put videos and pictures in the same place at the same time. Which services do I like the best? You know, they're so similar now that it's really for us. It really just depends on which infrastructure we have. So even though I like Photos better, Apple Photos better on my computers and on my devices at home, I'm using Amazon because I have the Go View and we have Fire Stick, and it just works together because I can talk to her and tell her what I want her to do, and then she does it. It's the only woman in the world that does that, by the way. But anyway, so for us, Amazon at home, on my devices and on my Mac, it's Photos. I find the Google Photos techniques to be very, very good. The way you handle pictures, the way you move them around, the way you put them in albums, all that stuff works so seamlessly and so easily. Amazon tends to be sort of a little bit more batchy, you know, even getting these pictures up it's more batchy. You know, it's more of a batch process than Google. Google, you just turn Google on and you say, I want you to. Let me see if I can get it up here. Here's my Google choice, and if I want to choose which files are continuously backed up, if I check that box, it would take all the pictures that were in that folder, and it would, as I changed them, it would automatically change them online. Amazon is a little bit slower in doing that. They do it, but it's not as simultaneous, if you will. So I like the way they operate very, very well. And of course, they're a little bit better with editing tools than Amazon is at this point. Amazon Photos download says only for iOS. I have all my pictures on my computer. Did you just download from Photos to Amazon on the browser? Yeah. Yeah, I just did what I'm showing you here. This is my Chrome browser. These are my photos in Amazon. And when it says up here in the little bar, you have to be in your account. You have to sign into your Amazon account, your Prime account. Then you just click add, upload photos, and you go find photos to upload. Let's say I wanted to upload that header. I would just tell it to upload that header. Or if I wanted to upload a folder, I just do a folder and put them up there. Other questions? I'm going to show you one other thing. Most people should not do this, but I think it's instructive to see how things are stored. When you have a library, now I opened Finder. Finder is on my external hard drive, one of my external hard drives. And when you're in the library, this library is called Photos Library, blah, blah, blah. I put a date on it because I have different libraries for when I was having all those problems a few weeks ago. And then it says .photos library. Now, you can't open that library except in Photos, but you can show package contents. So I right click or option click, and show package contents. And this is what's really in the Photos library. It's all this stuff. So when you try to export from the Photos library, it's not very easy to do. And if you change anything here or touch anything here, you'll screw up your library. Don't do it unless you really know what you're doing, or unless you make a copy so that if you screw it up, you don't have a catastrophe on your hands. And just as an example, here's what goes to your Apple TV. So when you tell it to put your Apple TV in, there's a database and there's some information about what's in the Apple TV. There are some attachments. Here's the database that organizes your pictures and photos. And it organizes your pictures and photos. The masters are, I think, some subset of photos that are stored in your photo library, and your originals are somehow related to your masters, but I've never quite figured out how or why. And I have pictures that go back beyond 1997, and I don't see where they are here. So I'm not quite sure what all these things do. But I just wanted to show you that what's in the Photos library is a really complicated mess. So you should not open this unless you have a copy or two made before you do it. Okay, so it's 12:20. I will end now unless there are some other questions or commentary. I would appreciate your comments. How did you receive the sound? How did you receive the pictures? Was this a useful format? Suggestions for future comments or whatever? What we're going to do on August 7th is the next presentation, the next webinar. We'll take some questions, and then I want to talk a little bit about journaling. I know a lot of people are doing journals, writing books or memoirs or whatever, and I've been poking around with journals. So we'll cover a few examples of journaling at that point. All right, so with that conclusion, if there are any other comments or questions, or I'll sign off. Anything else before we end? And I thank you all for coming. We had, I think, 29 or 30 people on the webinar, so I think that's a great turnout for our first time. Super duper. Thank you very much. All right, so we'll be signing off now.